Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Emily Hiles, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Petty Officer Joshua O'Hanlon. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where family and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament. Flowers of the forest, wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Trooper William Harold Pinkerton. William Harold Pinkerton was born on the 25th of January 1893 in Scone, New South Wales. Known as Bill, he was one of 15 children born to sheep farmer James Pinkerton and his wife Elizabeth. He received his education at Elliston Public School and was known as a skilled horseman in the region. After completing his schooling, he volunteered in the Citizens Forces and took up trade as a labourer. When the First World War broke out in 1914, William Pinkerton was among the first to volunteer, enlisting on the 22nd of August 1914, and joined the 1st Australian Light Horse Regiment. Later that month, the townspeople of Scone farewelled Pinkerton and his comrades at a social evening in which they were praised for their bravery. Trooper Pinkerton embarked Sydney 2 months later on board the troop ship Star of Victoria. Arriving in Egypt on the 8th of December 1914, he began further trading with his unit. As light horse regiments were considered unsuitable for the initial operations on Gallipoli, Pinkerton's unit did not reach the peninsula until early May 1915, when it was deployed without horses. Attached to the New Zealand and Australian Division, Pinkerton and his comrades played a predominantly defensive role during the first months on Gallipoli. By mid-1915, fighting on Gallipoli had descended into a stalemate. Allied forces launched a major offensive designed to take control of the high grounds to the north and inland of Anzac Cove. It was believed that this would allow Allied troops to move across the peninsula, cutting the Turkish forces in half. A series of feints were organised to distract and divert the Turkish troops from the main attack. Pinkerton's first major battle would take place as part of these feints. In the early hours on the morning of the 7th of August 1915, tasked with attacking the heavily entrenched Turkish position at an area known as the chessboard, Pinkerton's unit went over the top. Met with heavy machine gun and artillery fire, the men were mowed down in waves. By the end of the battle, the 1st Light Horse Regiment had taken 147 casualties out of the 200 men who were involved in the attack. Among the casualties was Trooper William Pinkerton, who had been killed in action. His comrade, Major Don Cameron, wrote to Pinkerton's family to tell them how he died. The Australians attacked a very strong enemy position after an artillery preparation which had evidently not damaged the duel to the extent expected. He wrote, "Private Pinkerton's officer was badly wounded, and getting him on his back, Pinkerton started back to his own trenches under heavy fire and had actually made the parapet when he was killed. His officer, rolling into the trench, died also." The act was worthy of a VC. The Scone and Upper Hunter men have been a credit to their country. Trooper Pinkerton's body was never recovered from the battlefield. Today, he is commemorated on the Lone Pine Memorial among almost 5,000 Australians who have no known grave. William Pinkerton was 22 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Trooper William Harold Pinkerton, who died for us, for our freedoms, and the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of our director, staff and volunteers, we thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.